Well, hey there, folks, out here in the garage messing around late at night. But I wanted to do a power steering flush on the Jeep. That's the only fluid in the entire thing that I haven't exchanged or serviced. And in all honesty, it's probably that, along with your brake fluid and your brake system, are probably the two most neglected fluids in a vehicle, in my opinion. So I wanted to clean it all out and flush it because I looked in there and honestly, it was pretty dark and dirty looking, smelled burnt. So I went ahead and did that. Now I can't film all this while I'm doing it because it's just me. I just hold my phone in my hand. I don't have anyone helping me or anything like that. And honestly, I don't even edit videos. You guys can probably tell. I just pause them and move on. I don't know how to do any of that stuff. But what I do know how to do is work on cars. So I was going to go up to Harbor Freight and buy a fluid extractor. If you guys aren't familiar, it's a thing, here I'll put it up to this. It's probably about this tall here, and it's vacuum. You pump it up. It has a hose, and it sucks everything right out. A lot of guys use them to change your oil, like in boats or lawnmowers or stuff like that. I don't recommend it for oil. I like to drain my oil from the bottom so I get everything out. But if it's a boat, a hard place or something, sure, you can use it. But something for like this, power steering, it just works great. They used to be $35. I was going to go up to Harbor Freight with all this COVID nonsense and what's going on with our current administration and the trucking crisis and everything else. They're $100 now. So I figured I'm only going to do it to this vehicle. I don't have to buy one. So I do have this. I have my Harbor Freight brake self brake bleeding kit here. Who knows how much this costs? I bought this years and years and years ago when I installed a new master cylinder on one of my travel trailers. Um, it actually, yeah, had hydraulic surge brakes, believe it or not. So, anyways, I've used this on countless cars, but there's no reason you can't use it on the power steering fluid system here. So it's pneumatic. It works off air. It creates vacuum, and it sucks it out into this here. And I believe this holds like a quart or so, maybe a little bit more. So what I did, I just made a quick little adapter here. I just had this tee, vacuum tee. I just drilled the one end out a little bit just so it could accept this rubber hose right here. And this here we weren't going to use, so I just capped it. This one here I just put on there when I was done. But basically, this goes on to the power steering hose. It fits in there perfect on the Jeep JK and probably a lot of other vehicles. I'm sure they have a similar size hose on them. And this will go to the return hose right here. But it fit right in there. Did it with the vehicle off. I just sucked the reservoir dry. And then I kept on adding, I used the right stuff there, ATF plus 4. And just kept adding it, sucking it out, adding it, sucking it out. And eventually it cleaned the entire system and it ran out crystal clear. But let me show you. Alright, so I've already installed my airbox. Filming this was kind of an afterthought. But the airbox on here, I mean, you just undo the hose clamp there and you just grab the airbox and just pull it out. There's just 3 rubber grommets. A lot of them are like that. There's no hardware holding it or anything. And on the Jeep, you've got a I guess a emissions line, crankcase ventilation, whatever you want to call it there. But most vehicles are probably going to be fairly similar. The reservoir on the Jeep sits over here, as you can see. And I should have filmed this, but like I said, it was an afterthought. See that hose right in the middle of the screen? That's the return hose. That goes right in the side. Just a hose clamp. See that spring clamp? You just undo that. And basically the little nipple on this, you're just going to plug off with a little vacuum cap or a piece of hose. Just plug it off. It's not under any pressure. And then that other piece I showed on the vacuum bleeder, it'll just go right into the other end of that black hose right there. The bottom one down there, the large one you see with the light on it, you don't even have to worry about that. So you can see how nice and clean that fluid is now. It's really nice and clean fluid. I'm going to wipe that cap up and get that yuck out of there. But yeah, let's go ahead and start it up. there you go. It's running right now. The engine's turning. It's circulating. Nice and clean fluid in there now. And I do have it at the proper level down there, right at the minimum because it's cold. Alright, so this is the way I like to do it. I really should have filmed when I had that off, but like I said, kind of an afterthought. Basically your highest hose, that's going to be your return hose. And like I said, I just made this little T on the end and just went in there. It worked perfect. And basically, when you have this to the air compressor, you just pull the handle, air goes in, it creates a Venturi effect, it creates a vacuum, and it sucks the fluid right out. So once the reservoir goes empty, you fill it back up. You know, you don't want to introduce air in there, but every time it goes empty, fill it back up, fill it back up, fill it back up. And I got about, I probably put about 1.5 quarts in total through there, and it ran out perfectly clean. So, you know, you can see in the hose, you can see in the reservoir. So that's the way that I prefer to do it. I just find it to be easy. I didn't spill 1 drop in doing it. If you're careful, you got some little vacuum caps or something, you won't make a mess. You do this with the vehicle not running, it just exchanges the fluid is all it does. Now some folks, they won't even want to mess with the hoses. They won't even want to take a hose off, open the system up. So a lot of people, I'm sure if you YouTube it or whatever, you'll see they just simply remove the lid. And I've seen people use a turkey baster that makes a mess, or they'll use a little vacuum bleeder like this, or they'll use a one of those other canisters, those vacuum canisters I was talking about. It's a fluid extractor pump. You can use that, and they'll basically empty the reservoir, fill it back up, start the vehicle, let it run, stop the vehicle, empty it, fill it back up, and they'll keep cycling it. You will eventually get most of the fluid out. It's going to keep diluting it, you know, and you'll eventually get it to run clear. But instead of using like 1.5 quarts, you're probably going to end up using, you might use 4 or 5 quarts doing it that way. And even so, I don't think you're going to get all the old fluid out. This, in my opinion, is the easiest and simplest way. I've seen other people, you know, that have hooked a hose up to the return down to a container, and they'll just turn their wheel from side to side without the engine running. Some vehicles it'll pump the fluid out, pull it back in, some it won't. I don't know. I figure I just do it this way. This is the way I've done it before. It works great, no problems. As you can see, the fluid was clean. So if you are interested in swapping out your power steering fluid, you can YouTube it. There's tons of videos on there that are going to show you a lot more than this, vehicle specific, you know. But it's basically the same thing no matter what. As long as you have a power steering fluid reservoir, it's all going to work the same, pretty much. So it's just a good idea to keep it clean. I wasn't having any trouble with it, wasn't making noise. But, you know, checking it, it was definitely dark. It wasn't anywhere near as clean as that. And I figure I keep clean oil and clean transmission fluid and brake fluid and, you know, coolant and diffs and transfer case and everything else. The power steering is so overlooked on a vehicle. Might as well do it. So anyways, thanks for watching. Hope it helps someone. Let me know how you do it. All right, y'all take care out there. Now just make sure you use the correct power steering fluid for your vehicle. You know, if you go down to the auto parts store, you're going to see Mercon 3, Mercon 5. You know, you're going to ATF4, like this here, the Chrysler spec. Mercon LV, Mercon this, Mercon that. You're going to see so many different fluids. You know, now this is a transmission fluid, but this is spec for this vehicle. It's like a lot of Fords and GMs, you know, they take, you know, Mercon or whatever. Now they do sell, you know, just a universal power steering fluid that it says it's for all makes and models. I'm sure you can use it. They're usually clear. If you don't know transmission fluid, it is technically clear. They just add dye to it. You know, most transmission fluids are red or pink, but they can make it green, blue, whatever color they want. It's just a dye they put in there. But I prefer just use whatever it's spec for. I use ATF4, that's what it was. If it was one of my Fords, I would have put Mercon in it. All right, folks, y'all be good out there.